What's up, guys? We have another game with the black pieces against Shatton Chess, rated 1556. He opens up with the first two moves of a possible London or a possible Jobava London. So I play c5 on move 2. This oftentimes throws them off their game. Not really sure. He does put e3, which is a great move to defend. Makes a lot of sense. So now it's our turn. We're gonna go queen b6. It's an early queen move, very specific to this particular line, because he brings the bishop out so early on move 2. Weakens the b2 pawn. You don't even necessarily want to take it, even if you can, unless you know the lines, because you waste a lot of time and your opponent gets a lot of development, and it's tricky. So I don't really like taking it. Like half the time I don't like it, half the time I take it anyway. So he develops his knight. So this is Jobava London style as opposed to regular London. He's threatening to potentially come in early and coordinate if I take this pawn. So we don't want any funny business from him. So how do we stop funny business from him? a6, another weird non-developing move specific to this particular line, taking away Jobava London ideas. Now those pieces, they're just not threatening anything. And this pawn's still hanging. And I can develop next moves. So he defends the pawn with the rook. But, so, he spends a move with the rook. I'm not afraid of that move. I'm going to develop, put a pawn in the center, open up my bishop's diagonal. And now I'm ready to develop my knight, my bishop, close the pawn chain. Let's see what happens. We could also go g6 and fianchetto our dark square bishop to try to castle ASAP. He develops his knight. What does this threaten? Just some central control. No big deal. Okay, so we are going to fianchetto. I'm going to fianchetto so I can castle as soon as possible. If I go with the natural knight development, it's fine. But I'm not castling. Like, it doesn't help castling. So he jumps his knight to the side, threatening to win this pawn and to play c4. So it's actually nice moves by him. If I give this check, he just goes c3, defending the knight and hitting the queen. So that's no good. I can give this check. I'm going to go queen a5 check. It seems like the most active possibility. Getting the queen out of the way in such a way that he can't do a tempo move, which means I then have another turn to protect this pawn or do something with it so I don't lose it. So he moves his knight back. So I'm not sure what the point of that whole operation was, other than to improve my queen maybe. Thank you. Now his knight's pinned due to his own moves. So now I can maybe apply pressure to it, and he actually can't defend it except with queen here, which runs into this. So again, it's another weird move. I'm moving the same piece twice. I'm not developing. But just because of the specifics of the position, his bishop's outside the pawn chain. It can never go back. This knight, it can't go here. So you can't defend this except with the queen here, which runs into this. And then you can't defend it. So when I take and he takes, I take with check. So because it looks devastating, and because he doesn't have any light square checks because of my a6 move, I feel safe and secure that even though I'm not castled, neither's he, right? So we're in the same situation. But this pressure looks overwhelming. So his operation of knight to the side and back just allowed me this possibility that I didn't have before, which is why I was just going to fianchetto and castle. But because he made two bad moves, two tempo moves, that at the end of those moves, his position was the exact same. The only difference was my queen was on 8-5, which is better for me. So he just develops a bishop. I think he's resigned to the fact he's going to lose a pawn here. Um, we're going to oblige and take because he has to go backwards with the piece or get the queen trade. So he goes backwards with the piece. I mean, it's a little suspicious, but whatever. I'm going to take this, relieve the tension. Maybe there's another free pawn. And now I'm not very well developed. Fair. But this bishop already touching a ton of squares. In one move, this bishop's going to be awesome. And this knight in time. I'm not going to prioritize this knight right now. I want to prioritize this bishop and then castling. So I know I'm going for pawns and stuff, but he's still not castled. And he has nothing aiming at my king. Everything he has is aiming at the queen side. So I still feel relatively safe. So he takes the pawn. We could take it back immediately because it comes with a tempo on the bishop. But if he goes here, then he gets the tempo. I don't see a good counter tempo because I don't want to waste time winning the a2 pawn. So let's just develop. And maybe we can take with the bishop if we want, but we don't need to. We're still up a pawn with a better position. So if we just castle, it's not like he can play c3 right now to defend the pawn, although he does have rook b3 followed by c3. So that's interesting. I guess on rook b3, queen. Okay, so he moves another retreating move, defending the center, but it defends it once, it's attacked twice. But you have to calculate a little. If you take, maybe he hits the queen, intermezzo. And then the queen can't stay attached to the bishop, maybe you lose the bishop. So it's a trap, huh? But his bishop's not good here. So let's just develop. We could castle, but castling is not the most active possibility. Developing your knight, pressuring this a third time, more active than castling because we're not in danger and we can castle next move. I'm leaving this bishop here. You see it defends the pawn. Perfectly fine where it is. Eventually can move here with some serious threats maybe after castling. So he castles, goes to safety. This pawn's hanging still, and even if he kicks our queen, it's hanging with the other pieces. Again, he has no light square checks on this diagonal, so I'm going to delay castling another turn. I'm going to take the free central pawn, which comes with a threat on the bishop, which you can take with check. So I'm not worried about losing time. It also threatens this pawn with the queen. So I can even go for queen trades. He has stuff hanging. Now I'm up 2 pawns. I definitely don't want a third. I want a castle. Once I'm up 2 pawns, I never want a third or a fourth. So he takes the knight. Now he can take either way. I like taking with the queen, just so that if he moves his knight, we get a free, like to hit a tempo or whatever, we just get the queen trade for free. We want the queen trade. We're up 2 pawns. We have a good structure. He has 2 isolated pawns. It's just winning, huh? And so now I'll move 16. I feel like we'll probably castle. But you can see how the pieces are, you know, light years away from my king. It's impossible to ever do anything. But we want to get our rooks in the game, so that's another reason to castle. So he improves his bishop, puts pressure on a pawn, but nothing that I'm worried about. Finally, I will castle. And I have 2 beautiful bishops on an open board. They have all the space in the world. My queen is centralized. I have pawns in the center. I can put this one here. He moves his rook over. What does this threaten? To take on e7. What's the drawback? It's a good developing move. Who said there was a drawback? We can go e6 and blunt the pressure. We can go e5 as well. I'm gonna go e5. Take full control with a pawn duo. When you do this, there's much more responsibility, right? Like if you go e6, your pawns all defend each other. You can do whatever you want with the pieces, right? You don't have to babysit, but when you do this, you have to make sure you don't lose the pawns, right? The advantage is you gain more space, you limit the opponent's pieces more, and by pushing pawns in the center, you displace pieces and you have more geometric opportunities to create double threats. So he goes c3. What does this threaten? My queen, and also to open the file for himself. I don't want to take this pawn and open up files for his rooks. So I'm not going to. However, I do want to keep the queen trade on. So I'm going to go here so that, again, if he moves his knight, I get the queen trade. I don't want to take a third pawn. I want to get my rooks in the game. Yeah, I figured he would attack the queen. The downside is it disconnects the rooks. And it walks into his, like, stuff. So I don't think this is a good move. On the other hand, there's no way for me to protect this pawn. Slight overlook. For some reason I thought I'd be able to drop back and defend it, but either way. So he'll take this pawn, but like I said, this rook, very suspicious position. I don't really buy it, but hard to say. Yeah, I should not have blundered that central pawn. That was dumb. But it's okay. What does this threaten? Double pressure here. Let's just get out of this so we can play b5 at some point. Okay, so now there's no more pressure here. We can play b5. We are looking at rook d8, applying pressure here, and bishop h6. So these are our ideas. This is what I see. This is what I'm looking at. So he moves his bishop here, which takes away the square from the knight. Hits our queen, but I'm not sure what this move does. I don't like it. Of course, though, we have to move our queen, so let's do that. Just going to move it to a natural square in the center. It doesn't really have many squares at the moment. Also, this bishop walks into more pawn pushes. So does the rook. His piece placement is very dubious. But I did give him back a pawn, so let's see if he can work with that. Try to do something. Downside is he's still down a pawn with a much worse position, but... Okay, so he moves his knight. What does this threaten? Pressure on the pawn, but it doesn't threaten anything. Drawback is, again, his pieces are clustered. They kind of walk into pawn stuff. But if I push, maybe I'll lose my queen, so watch out for that. He's still trying to do dumb stuff, like he's going to hit my queen 1,000 times. I don't really care. I'm going to go b5, and I'll just drop my queen back here if he kicks it. Now I can fianchetto. Once my queen's off this diagonal, I can get my bishop in, fianchetto. I knew he was going to hit it. It doesn't do anything. The guy's just like playing for tricks, one move threats. And now I'm going to put a rook here. I'm not sure where I want my light square bishop, so I might as well just leave it here for now. I think pinning the knight now is a good opportunity. But fianchettoing is also a good opportunity. He lifts his queen up one square. This undefends the rook. Also, why did he do that? No idea why he did that or what the point of it is. Very weird move. He also walked into this, but if I move my thing, he gets a pawn. I get a rook. He gets a bishop, I get a bishop. He gets a pawn, I get a rook. He gets a queen. I get a queen. Let's do it. And if he takes this pawn, I don't think the tactics work out for him. And so it was pretty decent. He made some decent moves, but his piece is just very funky. This rook move visually just looks wrong, especially when I had a second pawn here. It's just way too close. Rooks should probably be long. Well, no, they're snipers. So he does take here. And of course, if you take the queen, he takes your queen, but you can take the rook. And that's the key move in the calculation you need to find. Important thing being that once he takes your bishop, you can take a free bishop as well. That's important to notice. If he takes your queen, you take his queen. You're up the exchange. Yeah, well, you're up a rook at the moment, but... And I haven't needed to develop my f1 rook yet. Oh, now I see. Wait, do I see? No, I don't see. Okay, so he takes the bishop. Wait a second. If I go here, did I blunder checkmate? There's no way I'd blunder that. You gotta be kidding me. That's crazy. Okay, so you don't win a full rook, you just win the exchange because you can't take the bishop. I did not consider this at the end of the line. What are you gonna do? Do I have any moves here? Rook over, threatening my own checkmate. He takes. He can't take the pawn because the queen's defending it. And if he checks me here, and I go here, and he checks me with the rook, then I have bishop e6. But then he can take my rook. And I don't have checkmate. Oh no, he can't take my rook because it's on d8. So one more time, how does that go? Take here, rook, here, here, here. Oh no, queen check, here, then rook over, here. I don't know. I don't know. I might just get checkmated. Let's find out. This covers this, which I think is the key thing, that it covers these. And then I have bishop e6 in the line. And the rook will cover the other rook. Yeah, you made those moves quickly, but you didn't calculate your follow-up, did you, buddy? I'm threatening checkmate in 2. He's threatening nothing. Not a checkmate, when it normally would be in this pattern, but the queen is here, which is not normal. See, now his queen's hit, and checkmate's threatened. So he gives the check, but I block it. Now the queen's hit, checkmate's not threatened, but the knight's also hit. Now maybe he can go here, defend. And then... I don't know. I'll just move my king. I don't want to get into any discoveries. Are you crazy, guy? I'm moving my king. I'm running. I'm running for my life. Because if I can get away with this, it's 4 points of extra material. Taking. Okay, so he goes back, tries to get in on dark squares. There's this type of stuff. I have no time, so let's just go here. Stay on light squares for a second. It lets him come in with checks, but I'm enticing him to make knight moves so that I can get free king moves, and his knight moves don't actually do anything. Okay, so now my king's safe. He has 10 seconds. I have 30 seconds. He's coming in. I don't know. I just want to kick it out. He's coming in. Here. He has 5 seconds. Okay, now I take with the pawn. He has 1 second. He has 0 seconds. There's no increment. But instead of winning on time, I'd rather checkmate the guy if possible. So that's what we do. Good game. Managed to win. Again, almost ran out of time. Um, Blundered the central pawn, but that's going to happen in your games, and then you have to find ways to win the game. I mean, we were still better, but sometimes you'll go from better to worse, and you have to find ways to win the game again. That is chess. You don't just win the entire way through, usually. Okay, so submit some rapid games, or some over-the-board tournament games, even preferably. I love looking at those, so put them in my Discord. Good luck.